All right. I think
I'm ready when you are, yeah?
yeah.
Is it dark or how is my picture here? Is it bright enough or?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. Hello, viewers at home. My name is Olarunke Ashurugbadibo. Uh, Welcome to another program. We started this health program. We started this last week. Last week we had Dr. Bayo here talking about hypertension and living beyond hypertension. And if you have not listened to that, I would suggest that you listen to that so that you'll be able to appreciate what we're going to be discussing this afternoon. He spoke extensively about all the basic information that we need to know when it comes to preventing and deal and treating hypertension. And one aspect of some of the lifestyle factors that he mentioned last week is what we're going to be focusing on today. And I have a wonderful friend and also an expert in this area in the house with me as the guest. We're going to be focusing today on the role of exercise in the prevention and management of hypertension. I know there's so many things, so many information out there that talks about, relating to fitness. But this afternoon, we're going to be focusing really on the benefit of fitness as it applies to this health condition. So welcome, if you're joining us on YouTube, joining us on Facebook, you are free to leave your question and I'll post it and I'll just put it across to our guest in the house. But before I go on, after the program of last week, I came across a link on a very reliable group that I'm part of. And it's so touching and applicable to what we are dealing with today. And I feel that it is important that I bring it up. I'll talk about it a little bit, then I'll go ahead and post the link to the Facebook group, the Facebook page, and also the YouTube page as well. And it has to do with an individual, a man called Mr. Judah Nwairi. Now, I've made my research and findings about this man. So what I'm about to say is legit. It's a case that is still on, and I feel it's so important for us to hear his story so that we can give attention to our health. His name is Mr. Judah Nwairi, and he says, hypertension is said to be a silent killer. For Judah Chukwu Emeka Njoku Nwairi, this phrase played out to be so true. On the 9th of January 2021, he went to a health facility to possibly run some tests to find out why he was not getting better despite taking some natural remedies for what he considered to be a stress-induced weakness. It was discovered that his blood pressure was over the readable limit. Immediately placed in the emergency ward, he was given an injection of which the side effect almost made him pass out. By the mercies of God, he was revived. Further tests showed he had high levels of urea and creatinine. This led to a journey where he was eventually diagnosed with acute chronic kidney disease. And as I talk to you now, he's already on dialysis. Now, I remember last week, Dr. Bayo said that usually hypertension comes across as a silent, killer until an incident occurs. And unfortunately, and it also said that it becomes dangerous when it begins to affect organs in the body. When I read the story about this man, my heart really went out to him. It could have been me, it could be you, it could happen to anybody where we go around, we feel we are okay, and until something happens. So what we are going to be talking about today, as simple as it might come across, is so important. Now, a GoFund page has been opened for this man, and I would like to appeal to everyone. I'm going to post the link onto my Facebook page and also onto the YouTube. I'm appealing to everyone out there, wherever you are listening, whether you are watching me live now or you're going to listen later, to every nation of the world, wherever you might be, in England, in UK, in Nigeria, in Israel, Pakistan, in Swaziland, wherever you might be. Let's come together and come to the aid of this man. I remember several years ago, I just went to my doctor. I was under a lot of stress, but it never crossed my mind that at any point in my life, I'll be dealing with high blood pressure issues. And I just went to a doctor for just regular checkup. And when the GP checked my blood pressure, she looked at me and said, "Are you okay? When was the last time you checked your blood pressure?" My blood pressure that day was 160 over nearly 100. And here I was going around and I didn't know there was something wrong with me. I was fortunate that it was detected early and I could put things in place to correct it. So it could happen to anybody. So I'm appealing to everyone out there. Let's rise up. No amount is too small. £5, $5, $10, 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira. Let's come together as members of the human race and let's help this man. So while Mr. Bayo will come on, I will post the link and please and pleading, let us help Mr. Nwahiri. Okay, so back to our program today. So our focus today is actually going to be talking about exercise, the role of exercise in the prevention and management of high blood pressure. So I have a friend that I've known now, I think for over 40 years. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Over 40 years now, yes. I've known him for over 40 years, and he's in fact, I respect his passion, I respect his focus, I respect his discipline, I respect his consistency, especially when it comes to fitness. And so I'd just like to quickly introduce our speaker today, Mr. Bayo Mabo.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to play something here. Mr. Bayo Mabo, a lover of God, is the Ultra Spirit Runners fitness coach and personal trainer. He has been running and keeping fit for close to 40 years. He has run numerous ultra marathons, including a 51-kilometer ultra marathon, a 50-kilometer ultra marathon, and a 48-kilometer ultra marathon, and is currently training for a 100-kilometer ultra marathon. He has also run countless marathons and half marathons, completed a duathlon, and loves road and trail cycling, tennis, boxing, swimming, and skipping. A seasoned YouTuber and owner of the Ultra Spirit Runners YouTube channel, a one-stop shop for everything health and fitness, and a platform through which he encourages people to bring God into their fitness by looking to God for motivation and physical strength for fitness. He is also a cybersecurity professional and serves faithfully as a member of the board of trustees in his church, where he is the head of cybersecurity and information assurance. Bayo is married with 3 grown-up children. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Mr. Bayo Mabo. Okay. So, welcome, Mr. Bayo Mabo. Over to you now.
Thank you so much. Thank you. when you were playing that audio of me, I was wondering, is it really me she's talking about? Is it somebody else? It's amazing how you take for granted what God has enabled one to achieve, because you're constantly moving, and you kind of suddenly look back and then you realize all that God has done. And I'm really grateful to God. Like I was saying to a few friends when we went running on Tuesday, I said I wear a Superman t-shirt when I run sometimes, but I'm not Superman. I trust in the Lord to give me strength, to motivate me, and to enable me to do what I do. And I give him all the glory and all the praise. So what makes my fitness journey quite unique, I was actually speaking to my daughter yesterday when we were having a family quiet time. And I said, the difference between me and maybe a lot of other runners or people who do fitness is I've come to understand that God is the source of my strength. I haven't had various injuries. When I used to think I was superhuman, I came to realize the fact that it's God that enables me to do what I do, not because I'm special, more special than anybody else. So my fitness journey started when I was a teenager, when I started doing cross country running, and obviously in university I carried on doing that, and I used to run from one town to another town, and I'd spend like an hour in the gym before doing that. So naturally, I love fitness. I'm a very active person, and she, you know, as my dear friend Tukumbo mentioned when she was talking about my profile, I pretty much do a lot of, in terms of fitness, tennis, swimming, boxing, skipping, running, which is my major passion, brisk walking, aerobics, and all that, just because I trust God to give me the strength and the motivation to do it. So I just find myself doing all those different forms of fitness. So in my journey, because I've always enjoyed fitness, I got to a stage in my life when I think I was just my early 20s when I lost my dad. Now, my dad was 55 years old when he died, 55, which is pretty much about the same age I am now. And he was a very slim man. I've never known him to go into hospital or to be ill. So when he died suddenly, it really shook me, because before then I'd always thought that it was only people who were obese that, you know, were at risk of dying, or any form of illness. And if you were slim, you were pretty much okay. Although I'd been doing my fitness way before that, because I enjoyed it. So it wasn't just for health. I enjoyed it. When my father died, I realized the fact that you could be slim and have a lot of issues going on without you realizing. And unfortunately for us Afro-Caribbeans, because we tend to look very young on the outside, there's this thing that tends to happen whenever we meet each other in maybe parties or wherever we go. We always compliment each other, say, oh, you're looking very young, you're looking this, what's your secret? Unfortunately, that is one of the greatest killers to us as Afro-Caribbeans, because although we look fresh on the outside, on the inside, there may be stuff going on that you may not be aware of, which is the case of my dad. He was slim, you know, a smart dresser. Anyone who saw him was always complimenting him. But little did he know that he was dying. So, so it is sad to see that because we have that kind of mindset, and because God has blessed you with that gift, we've now totally become so slack at keeping fit, because we think that if we sleep well or catch a bit of sleep and we look fresh on the outside, we look younger than our age, then we're okay. No, as a matter of fact, I feel that people who are slim are actually more at risk, because they may not know there's stuff going on the inside. If you're obese, at least you can see that you're putting on weight. You know you have to check and do something about it. But if you're slim, you might have high blood pressure, you may have hypertension without realizing that you have it. So my journey, in terms of my own personal experience, I vowed that I would, especially when my father died, that I would never stop my fitness. I would carry on looking after my body, which I believe is God's temple. And I believe that I owe God to actually look after my body, because if God gave it to me and God called my body his temple, then I have to look after what God has given me. So this is not I always say fitness is a deeply spiritual thing. It's not like what most people think, oh, you're spending body exercise, profited little. Okay, let's just park that scripture for a bit. Your body is the temple of God. If you don't look after your body, you're going to fall ill. Then you're going to be spending loads of hours praying and believing God for your healing, when you could have spent that time interceding for the nations and doing great works for God. So it is a deeply spiritual thing. We need to rely on God for energy and for motivation to do it, but we have to do whatever we can to look after our body, which is God's temple. And that is my philosophy. That is my mindset. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In my platform, Ultra Spirit Runners, that is it's almost like my motto. I always say it when I go running. When I went running this morning, I was saying it, I was confessing, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I always say it in all my videos. So my journey in terms of my fitness journey has been to make sure I look after God's temple and to make sure I'm in good shape. The last health check that I had, when I went in for the health check, it was a full health check. The doctor who did the health check, who got the results when we sat down, he said, I really don't know what you're doing, but this is one of the best health checks I have ever seen in my career. And I'm not a young doctor. Whatever you're doing, keep on doing it, because he could not find any fault at all with every aspect that he checked. And this was a detailed health check. Now, when he said that, I said to him, it's God that motivates me and encourages me to do what I do. And I trust him to keep on motivating me, and I'll keep on doing what I'm doing. So I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to motivate you. I'm here to not to put you down or make you feel like you're lazy or stuff like that, but to encourage you that if you trust in God and you actually pray and ask God to help you to be able to start looking after your body, you will be able to do it. I have done things that I never thought I'd be able to do. I've run ultra marathons. I never thought I'd be able to run an ultra marathon, which is more than a marathon. I've run loads of 50 kilometers run. I've run countless marathons and half marathons, and every time I've taken on that challenge, I've always said, Lord, I trust you to enable me, to strengthen me, to give me wisdom. Holy Spirit, I trust you to run with me when I'm running. And God has never failed me in all of those. And my greatest challenge to come, which is 100 kilometers, which I'm going to run all in one go, I know that I have already cracked it because I'm training well and I'm listening to the Holy Spirit as it instructs me and as it helps me. So in a nutshell, that's my journey, and I am where I am today, and I keep on doing different things and I keep on exploring on different exercises, keep on taking on new things, keep on encouraging people, and keep on trusting God to enable me to do more. I'm not overdoing it. Obviously, I rest when I'm supposed to rest. I sleep well. I take breaks of times of exercise when I don't do any exercise so that my body can recover. But at the same time, I ensure that I get back into it and I keep the momentum. So in a nutshell, that's my journey.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so let's get cracking. The first one is, how does a sedentary lifestyle affect the body? Now let's talk about the body. Now, I'll keep referring to what Dr. Ajigini said yesterday, which is also true. It's written all over. One of the key lifestyle changes in the prevention and management of hypertension is regular physical activity. One of the lifestyle. Yeah, it is said that, okay, yes, some people, depending on whether it is stage 1 or stage 2, they might need to be put on medication. But apart from medication, one of the sustainable lifestyle changes that if individuals are put in place, even if you're already struggling with hypertension, it becomes easier to manage, is physical exercise. Having said that, what effect does a sedentary lifestyle, what effect does it have on the body? And maybe we should even start by defining what a sedentary lifestyle means.
Okay. So a sedentary lifestyle is an inactive lifestyle where you roll from your bed to your couch, you grab your remote control, you sit in front of the TV, a bowl of popcorn, watching movies, eating everything that you shouldn't, and pretty much not doing any form of exercise. Before we had the lockdown, you would roll from your bed, have a shower, roll into your car. When you get to work, you take the escalator or the lift up to the floor that you're working, get onto and then from there, sit on your chair, have lunch at your desk. When it's time to go home, you get up from your seat, you into your car, drive back home, sit on the couch, not doing much, and just pretty much doing that day in, day in, day out. And of course, on Sunday, you go to church. When it's time for praise and worship, you sit down, or even if you didn't sit down, you you just kind of stand there. You don't really do much. You sit through the sermon, and then it's time to go home, have your meal. So it's a life of inactivity, pretty much not doing anything at all. Or maybe occasionally you could go for a stroll, you know. As you know, as we always say back in Nigeria, and even here sometimes, oh, I just want to go out for some fresh air, you know. So just a lazy stroll down the street, and then you come back thinking you've done some form of exercise. The human body was never designed to be sedentary, never. If you go back in the days of our grandparents, especially our grandparents, I think our parents were the ones who didn't quite get it right. Our grandparents, they used to take very long walks. I remember my grandfather used to walk for miles and miles. You know, they'll climb up the stairs. You know, they eat fresh food. They eat fresh fruits. They eat, a lot of grains and things like that. They go to bed early and they wake up early. So their lifestyle was active. You know, and if you go way, way back, men and women would go to the farm and they would till the ground and they would, walk from the farm to the market to sell their stuff. And they spent a lot of time on their feet. Whereas in our generation, and maybe from our parents' generation, it was the opposite. We spent more time sitting on our bum, driving in a car. Even at home, we sit down most times. We don't, if we want stuff, if we have children and we want to get something from upstairs, we call the children and ask them to go upstairs to go and get it. So the staircase is like alien to us. We only go up, we come down the stairs in the morning and we don't go back up till it's time to go to bed. So that's a sedentary lifestyle. It's sad because the human body was never designed to be that way. Never designed. And so what tends to happen is over a period, your joints become stiff, your back, you then have back problem. Of course, you grow a belly if you're a woman or a man. So forgetting about I know childbirth brings the belly, yeah, we know that, but I'm just talking generally, and you just find that you're always tired, you have no energy at all, your energy levels is so low. Why? Because your body's pretty much not doing much at all. Apart from your internal organs that are working to keep you alive, nothing else is working, nothing else is active. So, and that is what a sedentary lifestyle is, quite damaging to your health, as you can see. And I don't know if you want me to go into that, what it leads to. So if you live a sedentary lifestyle, there's certain things that will begin to happen,
Exactly.
Yeah. So one of the first things that we know that is so common, which is a major problem in the Western world, and also even in Africa and other parts of the world, is obesity. We're now seeing a high level of obesity even amongst children, because unlike back in our days when we used to get out and get on our bike and go for a run, your mom would send you to the market or to the shops, you would run to the shop, get whatever. That doesn't happen anymore. The children sit in front of the TV, playing, watching their favorite TV program or playing the PlayStation. So you have obesity starting even from children. Children they look at them and you can just see that this child is unhealthy. The stomach is big, the cheeks are ruddy, the thighs are huge, and that's even from a child. So by the time they hit their teenage years, they're totally out of shape. They can barely walk up the stairs, and they wear all these tight clothes, and you just see it spilling all over, and it's so sad when you see that, because you know the person is young because you can see their face. So obesity is definitely one thing. And of course, we have a lot of adults. We know it's commonplace now. We know it's one of the major problems that the NHS is trying to fight now, where you may appear to be slim, but you may have weight on other parts of your body. So the fact that when you put on clothes, it looks like everything is all together does not necessarily mean you're not obese. I always say that the best way to start, where place to start with, is with your BMI. When you use you use the BMI to calculate. So if you go on Google and just type BMI, one of the first links that you get is the NHS site that shows you how to calculate your BMI, and it normally tells you from a stats that you put in whether you're obese or whether you're just okay. But apart from that, just generally speaking, you get obesity, and of course, one of the things that happens with obesity that it leads to is diabetes, and diabetes is a killer. And of course, like we discussed, and which is the topic of our discussion, one of the major topics of our discussion today, you got high blood pressure, you got hypertension. Now, diabetes is a killer because you end up with so much sugar in your system because you've stuffed yourself with so much carbs that your body does not need all those carbs, so it stores it and it changes it to fat so that you can store part of it. Now that creates a problem because your pancreas is constantly working, trying to convert this sugar, this excess carbs, this sugar that is got in your system. And in the process of doing that, it then develops a problem because it's been given too much to deal with. So the pancreas fails, your blood sugar level hits the roof, and then type 2 diabetes sets in, which then results in other problems like diabetes. It affects everything. I was speaking with another friend of mine who's a medical doctor, and she spent years researching diabetes, and she says the damage that it does is like a ripple effect. So it starts off with a sugar level, and then it hits the kidney, it hits your heart, begins to have a problem because it's working constantly, trying to filter things, trying to sort things out. It affects your liver, it affects your eyes. You then lose your sight. Like the example that I was talking about now, about the person who now has problems with his kidneys and now needs dialysis. So those are the far-reaching effects of living a sedentary life. And I mention high cholesterol, heart disease, clogged arteries, stress and mental issues, because you look at yourself in the mirror and you just become so depressed. How did I get to this state? It now begins to affect you. You totally give up on life. So there's a lot that results in living a sedentary life, which is a ripple effect. And it's like there's a catalog of things that begins to happen. This is why we need to do whatever we can to ensure we're not living a sedentary life. A little bit of activity is better than no activity. A little bit of activity. I always say to people, even if all you're doing is brisk walking, and you try and get into a routine of brisk walking regularly, you're better off than somebody who just sits on the couch and doesn't do anything at all. Now, the couch is not your enemy. I'm not saying don't watch TV. I'm not saying don't have a favorite program. That's not what we're saying. We're saying find time to get active. Find time. Don't forget about the gym. If you can't rest and you forget about the gym, do what fits your lifestyle. So brisk walking is something so easy. Nice, comfortable shoes. Get yourself out there and go for a walk. If you can't go out, get on YouTube, type in a brisk walking video. And I know that we've done so many videos of different things that you can do. If you check our YouTube channel. So any activity is better than no activity. A sedentary lifestyle is a definite no-no. And you have to do whatever you can to ensure that you don't live a sedentary lifestyle. Because if you don't pay now, you will be paying later. And when you pay later, it will be a costly price that can cost you your life and cost you your quality of life. going shopping up and down from the hospital when you have no business. You could have avoided it. Living a good quality life where you can climb up the stairs. Your children see you doing stuff that normally you'll ask them to do, because you've got the energy to do. You can mow the lawn, you can wash your car, you can do different things without having to call your children. I'm not saying you spoil your children. I'm just saying because you've got the energy, you can do it. So a sedentary life is a definite no-no, and we've got to do whatever we can to avoid it. And before the end of this session, we will be talking about practical ways that you can avoid living, what things you can do to avoid a sedentary lifestyle.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Now let's bring it down to our topic, dealing with, is it safe to exercise when you have hypertension, especially when you have been placed on drugs?
Okay. What I always say to my clients when they approach me and they say, oh, we would like you to be our personal coaches, I always get them to fill in a form, a medical form, that basically talks about what the condition is. And it tells, one of the questions I ask is, when was your last visit to the doctor? When was your last health checkup? So I always say to anyone, whether you have hypertension or not, first thing you need to do is go for a checkup, go for a general checkup, get the doctor to check all your vitals, and then tell the doctor that you want to start a life of fitness. I know for sure that there is no reason why you can't do any form of fitness, even if you've got high blood pressure. It's just the level of the intensity that you may have to reduce. So for example, you could, if you've got high blood pressure, you could decide, I'm only going to go for a brisk walk, and I'm only going to go once a week. So you start doing that. Now that's some form of activity. You're burning calories, because you're doing what you're doing, because you're doing constant activity, your blood pressure will begin, your body begins to observe what you're doing, because our bodies are like a car. I always use this analogy. Now, a car is not designed to sit on your driveway. It's designed, for you to drive it around. So if you buy a car and you leave it on your driveway, after a while, after months or years, it will begin to develop rust, the tires will go down, the battery will die, and before you know it, when you go into the car, you turn the ignition, the car wouldn't respond. Our bodies are exactly like that as well. So some form of fitness with a lower intensity is all you require if you have hypertension. And because you're going to be checking your blood pressure regularly, what you do is you start off slow and then gradually build it up. Of course, you're going to your doctor for checkups regularly. So making trips to the doctor to check your blood pressure, to check out how things are. So that way you know if you're overdoing it or if you're not overdoing it. But you could start, I always say start slow. Even if all you're doing is 10 minutes or 5 minutes of brisk walking, that's fine. I know someone who actually had a high blood pressure, and she decided she was going to turn her life around, and she started doing fitness. So when she started, she started with brisk walking, and then eventually she started running, a little bit of running, a little bit of walking, the run, walk, run a method, which is one of the styles of running. And then she started cycling as well. And then before she knew it, her blood pressure had come back to normal. So you can actually do some form of fitness even if you have hypertension or high blood pressure. You just need to start slow. Don't take on too much too soon, so that you don't have a situation where your blood pressure hits the roof and then you collapse. You start small and monitor your heart rate. Go check up with a doctor. You've got your high blood pressure. Now most of us can buy the equipment, which you can get it from Amazon, and just check your blood pressure regularly. You'll find that with time, your body will start responding positively because of you're starting to do some form of fitness. So don't let anyone fool you, and when I say don't let anyone, I mean a general talk that, oh, I've got high blood pressure, so I can't do any form of exercise. No, that's not true. You can just reduce your intensity and gradually build it up. I hope I've been able to.
Yeah, and I think just in addition to that, I'd just like to say that it's very, very important for people that want to start exercising to get the advice of a professional in terms of exercise advice, exercise recommendation, because sometimes, apart from high blood pressure, sometimes people have other underlying health issues.
Absolutely.
And there's something we call in fitness contraindications where the kind of medication you take might affect the kind of exercises that you do. And there are some exercises, even for people that have high blood pressure, there are some exercises that, depending on the kind of medication that your doctor, place you on, there are some exercises your doctor might advise you not to do at the beginning. And as you begin to build up your fitness level, then other exercises can be introduced. But generally speaking, for people that have high blood pressure, the doctor will advise. That's why, based on what Bayo has said, getting clearance from your doctor and getting advice from a certified fitness professional is very, very important. Because you have a friend who has hypertension and is doing a particular fitness program does not mean that that fitness program will work for you, because the way your body might respond might be totally different. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bayo. Okay, so now let's go on to the component of fitness. We've talked about the fact that exercise and hypertension are compatible. Having hypertension does not stop your ability to be able to engage in physical activity. And another thing I just need to say before Mr. Bayo comes back on is the fact that when we talk about physical activity, it covers structured exercise program and your activities of daily living. So apart from maybe you go for a brisk walk for about 30 minutes a day, what about things you do within the house? Maybe instead of just sitting around, just as you said earlier on, you can decide to hoover the house, you can decide to wash the plate, things that get you moving. That is what we call activities of daily living. So even when you do your regular structured exercise program, you are also advised to increase your activities of daily living. So places that maybe you're going to a friend's place that is just about 10 minutes walk away from you, instead of going with the car, why don't you walk? That is increasing your activities of daily living. Okay, so let's go on now to components of fitness. What are the kind of exercise you will recommend specifically? Okay, we've talked about low intensity program. What kind of program? Does that mean that I can do HIIT program? Does that mean I can do body pump? Does that mean I can do karate? What kind of exercise program that are moderate intensity that you will recommend for people that have challenge with hypertension?
Okay, so just so that before I go into it, I think it's nice to analyze the different types of exercises that generally, the general analysis of different types of exercises and why we need to do them. So in terms of exercise, there's like three major strands of exercise that one can do. There's a strength and resistance training. And then there's aerobic and anaerobic as well exercises. So with the strength training, that's pretty straightforward. It's a little bit of if you've got free weights, using free weights, lifting free weights to strengthen your muscles, because your muscles are designed to be used. And if you don't use them, you lose them. So this is not about just looking and talking to the guys. This is not just about you looking buff, having everything spilling over. You're taking your shakes and you just want to look massive so that when it's summertime and you wear that t-shirt, everybody's like thinking that you're fit, when really you're not actually, because all you've done is just pumped up your muscles. In terms of cardiovascular fitness, there's nothing going on there. So there's strength and resistance training. So with the strength training, you can use free weights, and you can also use resistant bands, which, you know, you can, if you type that, Google that, or you go to Amazon and type resistant bands, there's so many that you know that will come up, because you and with that, you're basically just exercising your muscles so that they, you know, they maintain their turgidness. You know, they develop the strength that they are required to develop. Your muscles are not supposed to be just placid; they're supposed to be active. So strength training is actually quite important. However, what I find, like I said earlier on, is a lot of, especially guys are the ones that tend to fall for this. A lot of guys tend to just focus on strength training. So they go to the gym or they have dumbbells at home and they're pumping all this iron, and then they come out looking buff and they think they're fit, but they're not. Ask them to run down the road and you will be amazed at how unfit they are. They can't actually run down the road. Ask them to run up the stairs. They can't run up the stairs. You know, and I'm going to use, I'm going to just add a bit of humor to what we're talking about here. There's, I remember this incident that happened where there was a young man, this was at work. We were having a conversation, and I said to him, oh, let's go to my car for a bit of privacy because we needed some advice on something. And this young man does a lot of weights, always goes to the gym and everything, goes from work, goes to the gym next to and everything. So it's a really big guy, muscles busting everywhere. So I said, oh, my car was parked in a multi-story car park, the top floor. So I said, oh, let's go upstairs where my car is so that we can talk. So I just got on the stairs and I was already running upstairs. So I expected him to be behind me. So I looked behind me and I heard somebody breathing very heavily. And I thought, did he fall down or what happened? So I looked back and I said, oh, sorry, hold on. Are you okay? What happened? What happened? He said, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm like, why are you sounding so exhausted? He said, you know, I'm not like you. I said, but you go to the gym and you go say, forget about all that. He says, I'm not really like you. I can't do all. I will take my time. You go up and I'll meet you upstairs. And I just thought to myself, hold on a minute. This is somebody who is, to the eyes of everybody else, looks very fit, but he couldn't run up the stairs. He was exhausted. Literally, he was panting, gasping for breath. It's not because he has any health issues. It's just simply because there's nothing going on cardiovascularly there. His lungs and his heart and his circulation were not on point because all he's done is spent time pumping all this iron. So strength training should be part of fitness exercises that you do, but you cannot just focus on that alone. And also we've got aerobic and anaerobic. Now aerobics exercises are exercises that you do for a length of time. So for example, you can go for your brisk walking, and if you go for your brisk walking, it lasts about an hour, for example, and it's, you know, it's brisk, but it's not to a point where you're out of breath. That's aerobic. That's very good for your heart and for your lungs. It helps to develop your aerobic fitness, your cardiovascular fitness. It helps to add health benefits to your lungs and to your heart. Your heart becomes stronger, your lungs become stronger, and you can run up the stairs or you could go for miles and not be exhausted because you're doing that on a consistent basis. So I do a lot of aerobic exercise because I do a lot of long miles. So I'm running, I might be running for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Although most of the times I do that, it's because I have a competition that I'm going for. But generally, you know, if I'm running for about an hour, you know, or an hour and a half or 45 minutes, and I'm not running at a fast pace, that is aerobic. Now, anaerobic is the opposite, where you're running a 5K, for example, or 1 kilometer run, and you're running at top speed, and you maintain that speed for a long time. That's anaerobic. That has its benefits as well, because when you do that, that pushes your fitness level, gets your heart rate up, and pushes your fitness level to another level. So you need to have a combination of all three generally when if you're trying to maintain a level of fitness. Now for hypertension and high blood pressure, what I always recommend is keep it simple. Don't go all crazy trying to take on too much and then crashing and burning. Keep it simple. I always recommend brisk walking or aerobics. There are different types of aerobics. Yes, there's aerobics, which you can do sitting down, which doesn't involve a lot of, you're not working yourself up to a sweat, but you are actually keeping yourself active. Your heart is pumping, your lungs are pumping, circulation is going, and all your internal organs are happy because you're doing something. You could also do, I wouldn't quite recommend high intensity interval training unless you've checked with a doctor or unless you've been doing some form of fitness, you gradually build up, because high intensity interval training can be very fast paced. And if, for example, you're someone who's just started, or just someone who's like maybe using some form of medication that may prevent you from using it, or it's too intense, it might be detrimental to you. So I always say just do gentle aerobics. You could do brisk walking, go out for a brisk walk, or brisk walk in the house. You can do steps where you're just doing, where you're just doing steps on the spot. You could do jumping jacks. I mean, there's so many different exercises that you can do that are not going to push you too much without giving you the benefits that you require. So I always say, just keep things simple. Let's not overcomplicate things. Brisk walking is always very good because it helps you to burn more fat than actually running. It helps you to get your heart rate up to at least to a particular extent. You can gradually build it up from 5 minutes once a week. So you can maybe choose a day, maybe Monday or Tuesday or whatever day works for you, or lunchtime. You go 5 minutes. You do that consistently for about 3 weeks, and then you increase it to 10 minutes once a week. And then after a while, you can increase it to twice a week, 10 minutes twice a week, and gradually build it up. But don't rush to the next level, because it's better to make it a habit, a lifestyle, than just take on too much and say, I'm going to go 5 times a week because I really need to push down this weight. And then, you get fed up and and then you give up. So my golden advice is keep it simple. Don't take on too much too soon, and gradually build it up. You can do it even if you've got high blood pressure and even if you've got hypertension. But always check with your doctor first before you start any form of exercise.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Just in addition to what Mr. Bayo said about high intensity exercises for people with hypertension, I'm going to use maybe you go for a 30 minutes high intensity exercises. And usually the way the class is structured is usually block of exercises. So, and the transition are always very fast. And sometimes the way the exercise is programmed, there's a manipulation of rest time. And once there is a sudden change, sometimes when I'm teaching, I always tell people, any form of exercise that you do and you're beginning to feel dizzy, you are having blurry vision, you are feeling weak, you are feeling breathless, your body is passing across a message to you that at this time is becoming too much. Now, especially for people that have hypertension, there is a need to get involved with the kind of exercises that the transition from one exercise program to another is not too fast for you to be able to cope. There are some exercises that when you're doing on the floor and all of a sudden you have to get up again, it can make some people to feel dizzy, especially those on medication. So when it comes to exercise, just as Bayo has said, build it gradually. The fact that, and then as you build up your fitness level, the capacity to be able to handle more difficult challenges is already enlarged. But just make sure you build it gradually. There are so many exercise videos out there, but you need to be able to know the exercise program that works for you. Okay, thank you so much. Now, you spoke about strength training. You spoke about cardiovascular fitness. Now, is it advisable for somebody that has high blood pressure to exercise every day? And just before you answer, I'd like to welcome those that have joined us here on Zoom. And please, if you have any question, kindly just type it into the chat box and we'll deal with it. And if you are joining us via Facebook or Zoom, and if you have any question, kindly just type it in and I'll read it out to our guests to be able to answer. Okay, so I said, is it advisable for someone that has high blood pressure to exercise every day?
So I, as a general rule, will not even advise you to exercise every single day. I have a golden principle. The principle I have is always have a rest day after a day of exercise. Unless you're training for a specific competition where you have a training plan, which may sometimes schedule you to have exercise after the other. But even if you look at the training plan, it's planned in such a way that your intensity reduces on the day after you've had something that's very high intense. So say, for example, you've just run a 20 kilometer run. The next day would be less, maybe 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers or whatever it is. But as a general rule for a healthy lifestyle, I always say, always have a rest day, after any form of exercise. So if you go cycling today, for example, and that's another one I actually forgot to mention, cycling is a very good form of exercise as well. It's less intense than running, but also gives you some cardiovascular benefits. Yeah, if you've got high blood pressure or hypertension, I would definitely not recommend you exercise every day. I would recommend you first of all start with 1 day a week and maybe build it up to twice a week, and then eventually you could take it up to 3 times a week. I would normally recommend exercise 3 times a week. It's good enough for anybody who wants to keep fit. Low and moderate intensity exercise 3 times a week is good enough for anyone who wants to live a healthy lifestyle. Now that doesn't mean you're not doing anything else the days you're resting. So of course you might decide to mow the lawn, or as Tokomo mentioned earlier on, you may decide to vacuum, wash the plates, wash your car. Excuse me, all those are also forms of exercise, but they're kind of like lifestyle, regular, normal, everyday lifestyle forms of exercise. So yes, I would not recommend you exercise every day if you've got high blood pressure. I would suggest you give yourself a rest day. This is when you've taken up the number of days to 3 times a week. You have a rest day in between each day. But when you first start off, it's once a week. Build the consistency. Once you build the consistency to a particular point, maybe you've done it for about 3 weeks to a month, then you can build up to twice a week and have space in between. So if you start off, do exercise on a Monday, the next time you're going to do exercise will be maybe on a Saturday or on a Friday. So you have all those days in between to recover. So that is what I would recommend for anyone who has high blood pressure or who has hypertension.
Okay, thank you very much. Generally speaking, just in addition to what Mr. Bayo said, for exercise prescription for hypertension, there's a fitness principle that we use, which we call FIT, the frequency of your exercise, generally for everyone, whether you have high blood pressure or not. The World Health Organization recommendation is every adult, you need at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity at cardiovascular activity every week. Now, how you break that down will now depend on your starting point. If you're somebody that is new to exercise, just as Mr. Bayo said, we'll not advise that you start at 150 minutes straight. But there is a principle that we use in fitness that is called, we call it FIT, your frequency, your intensity, and the time, and then the time. So any exercise that you want to do, you want to factor in those, the frequency, how many times you do it. And I think at the end of the day, we cannot take out the individual touch, where you are coming from, where you are starting out from. For somebody that has been exercising regularly and along the line, they now have high blood pressure, their starting point in fitness is going to be different from somebody that has not been exercising at all and they just, discover that they have high blood pressure. So there is an individual, touch when it comes to exercise recommendation and prescription for people that have challenge with high blood pressure. So it's knowing where you are. Are you a complete beginner? Or are you someone that is relatively active? And that will determine your next level in terms of fitness. Now, there's another question I need to ask. Another relating to type of exercise for people that have hypertension. I've heard it over and over again, and sometimes I have this discussion with some of my clients that it is not advisable for people that have high blood pressure to do weight training. Is it safe for people that have high blood pressure to do weight training? And if there are issues or if there are concerns, what are those concerns?
So I would not stop anyone from doing, anyone who has high blood pressure from doing weight training. What I would only recommend is that they might need to reduce the intensity. So rather than going all out and trying to pump, 95 kg on the bench, I would go for lower weights and maybe higher reps, which is safer, because you're not putting your body under too much strain when it's, when you're trying to, lift the and I know weight training can be a bit addictive. So you start off, after a while, you want to then lift heavier stuff. At every point in time, always check with your doctor. As much as you wanting to stay healthy, you don't want it to become detrimental to your, you're doing fitness. You don't want fitness to become detrimental to your health. So I would say lower, lighter weights, higher intensities will be safer for someone who has high blood pressure, rather than going all out, and lifting something that's so heavy that requires a lot of strain. And of course, with weight training, you gradually build things up anyway. You don't start off with a very heavy weight. You start off small, and over a period, you build things up. That gives your body enough time to grow, the muscles to grow, the joints to become stronger, the muscles to become stronger, more elastic, to be able to expand, and to be able to recover, when after the training session. So I just think that they should just reduce the intensity. Again, it's the same sort of principle that applies to running and cycling and other forms of fitness, and even swimming. If you've got high blood pressure, you might want to reduce your intensity. So don't go all out. Don't push yourself to limits where it could be detrimental to your health, to your heart. You want to get that right balance where you've done it. You feel that you pushed yourself to a particular limit, but you're not overdoing it to a point where it becomes detrimental. It's the same principle with weight training as well. So I wouldn't eliminate it. I just say reduce the intensity and reduce the weights that you're actually using.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question I'd like to ask, especially for people that you spoke about that earlier on, for people that have injuries, maybe that have back problems and have hypertension, is it advisable for them to start on any form of exercise program at all? Especially people that are obese, because we know that, some of the challenge with some of these health issues is that once one door opens, if you don't begin to deal with it immediately, it just leads and begins to open up to other doors. So if people have other health issues, especially those that are like musculoskeletal issues, and they have hypertension. Will you advise them to start any form of exercise program? Sometimes people have problems with their knee. Sometimes people have problems with their hips. Sometimes people have problems with their back. And also they are on hypertension medication. Will you recommend any form of exercise for them?
Yes, absolutely. They can still do some form of exercise. They just need to reduce the intensity. For example, they could do chair-aerobics. Chair-aerobics is mostly recommended for the elderly, but also it's for everyone, where you could sit down and do some weights. You could sit down and do, some form of routine. I've seen you do quite a few chair-aerobic sessions on your YouTube channel. So if you go to Healthy Living for You will see quite a few chair-aerobic sessions, which you can do even if you've got problems with your back, because you're sitting down. If you've got problems with your hip, you're sitting down when you're doing chair-aerobics. Your joints, you're sitting down, so you're not standing on your joints, so you can stay active. And I remember, what was it? Yes, I remember another session that I attended. I was invited as a guest, and the host was sort of asked a bit like this similar session. Another organization called me for the session, and we're talking, and the host talked about his father-in-law and how, even though he was on a wheelchair, he still did consistent exercise. So his upper body was very strong, and in terms of his fitness level, even though he was in a wheelchair, he was quite solid. So you can still do exercise even if you've got problems with your back, and even if, like I said, even if you've got hypertension. Aerobics is good. You can do it to a point where you will get your heart rate up, because you're doing it, as you should. You're following the prescription. You're following the coach who's coaching you. Like I said, I've seen Tokumbo do a few of those, and I know quite a few on YouTube as well. That you basically just follow them, and then there's nothing happening in your lower body, but your upper body is very active. But also that has benefit to your heart and to your lungs, which is cardiovascular fitness. So you can still do them as a form of exercise if you're not able to walk, or if you've got back pain. And eventually you may find that when you do it consistently over a period, your back will become stronger. Because when you're doing all this weights and you're doing all these different exercises, you're strengthening your muscles, you're strengthening your core. And your core, if your core is strong, it actually helps your back, because guess what? Standing upright is not solely dependent on a good back. And that's one thing people don't realize. If your core is strong, if you've got strong stomach muscles, it will help your posture, and there'll be less pressure on your back. So if you're doing exercises, so there's some stomach exercises, for example, that you can do when you're sitting down as well, to build your core. That will help to strengthen your back, because your stomach helps you to stand upright as well. And it will put less pressure on the back, because the stomach muscles are actually functioning. One of the major reasons why people have back problem, sorry to digress to this, is because their core is very weak. Their stomach muscles are very weak. So the back is doing everything that shouldn't really be doing. The job should be shared between the stomach muscles and the back muscles. Both of them should be sharing the job. And also, people find that their back muscles are very weak as well. So it's a skeleton that's trying to do all the work. So they have spinal problems. If the muscles on the back that are supposed to keep the body upright, and the core is also very strong, you find that your posture is the right posture, and you will not have back problem, or you have very minimal back problem. So that's a tip for someone. I don't know why I digressed to that, but that's probably something for someone that you pick up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's so important. I think that information is very important, in the sense that really, 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 there is no medical condition, except you are specifically advised by your doctor, that should limit your inability to exercise. There are 1,001 ways you can go about. I teach senior classes. I teach seniors. I have people in my class that are in their 70s, that are in
Yes.
their 80s. Some of them struggle standing for long. So we restructure the content, the way the class is structured. So sometimes we add standing to sitting. But I've seen in the life of these older people that really, really, regardless of the health condition, regardless of what it is, you have people that have problems with hypertension. You have people that are struggling with diabetes. You have people that are struggling with osteoporosis. You have people that have arthritis. You have people that have done hip surgery. You have people that have done, they've done hip replacement. They've done knee surgery, and yet they still come to regular exercise. And I've seen it lived out that there is really, really, really no medical challenge that should be an excuse for you not to be active.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, back to what we started with. What are the practical things that we can, we are living in the age of technology. So even as much as we try to be active, our life took, took a new turn since last year with the invasion of COVID-19 globally. Our life has taken a new turn. So
Yes.
now we have terms that we were not using before: isolation, working from home. Working from home now is it has come to stay. So, how do we now increase our activity of daily living? Some people they go out a lot before because they have to commute to work. So maybe from their house to the bus stop, that's the time they used to exercise. Maybe from their house to the bus stop, about 15 to 20 minutes, then maybe on their way back. And maybe that's how they have been able to keep themselves fit. But now they are working from home. So that aspect of their life is out. So, what are the practical things? Talking about post-COVID now, and living with hypertension, the challenge of working from home. What are the practical things we can put in place to help us still maintain our activities of daily living and at the same time being able to incorporate regular exercise into our daily life?
Okay. So to to answer that question, I just want to rewind a bit to when we had COVID. I don't know if people noticed that throughout COVID, the Prime Minister in all his broadcasts and all the health ministers and all, they always stated that you could still go out for some form of exercise. They never canceled. There was no time they said you cannot go outside for exercise. Why? Because they know the benefits of exercise to a person's mind and a person's body. I used to crack this joke that Boris, our prime minister, respects me. I used to crack this joke with my friend that because he respects me as a runner, he's decided to exclude me from all the restrictions and allowed me to go out for my run regularly. So throughout COVID, I was running. So I don't know if I remember last week, Dr. Ajigini was saying that, oh, that if people who are just like if you're an elite athlete and you're just coming starting exercise after COVID, you should gradually go back into it. I laughed because I never stopped my running throughout COVID. I've been running throughout. There's never been a time where I stopped running or because there's COVID, so we can't go out, because they never said we couldn't go out. So most times I'll be running, I'll be the only one running down the road. In fact, there were no cars. I remember when we had the first lockdown, I'll be running down the middle of the road because there's absolutely no cars at all. Nobody. It was just me running. Maybe occasionally I'll see one person and I'd wave at them and I'll carry on running. So I never stopped exercise throughout COVID. I carried on as normal. We would go out my normal run on the day I'd normally go out for my run. Now, I know that's not the case for everyone because people got to a point where, they just got stuck at home, said they weren't going out for work. Everything just changed. They wake up late, roll onto their laptop and carry on working till quite late, and then roll onto the couch where they have their meal and everything. And that became people's way of life. People, got stuck with all that. Now, a lot of us have already received the vaccination. Things are beginning to go back to normal. our lives have to go back to normal. Yes, we, as Tokumo said, we are going to be working from home for a long, long time. I mean, I know that in my place of work, I'm going to be working from home for God knows how long, forever, probably, until I leave, my job. They've told us that already. So what do you do? What are the practical things you do? I feel it's, in a way, it's actually a blessing for those who are still working from home, because the time you would normally use to drive to your place of work, you could use that time for exercise. So you get up at a normal time, you go out for a brisk walk, you come back, have a shower, and then you hit your laptop, dial in, and then you start working. Or lunchtime, so you've walked up until about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. You're entitled to a lunch break, which is an hour. Spend that hour or 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is, go out for a brisk walk. If it's cold, put on your layers, get your gloves on, wear your cap, go out for a brisk walk, because fresh air is good for you as well. And then come back and then carry on working, have a little bit of a meal, and then carry on working as normal. So make it work for you. One of the reasons why I started running was because it was so easy. I didn't have to get in the car to drive to the gym to be able to get on the treadmill or do whatever I wanted to do. All I needed to do was lace up with my trainers and get myself out the door, and because I had a routine that I stuck to, if it's a Tuesday and it's my day of running, I will be out the door on a Tuesday to run. Of course, as we all are human, sometimes I wouldn't feel like running. I remember about 3 weeks ago, that day was quite cold. I was under my duvet. It was supposed to be my day of running, and I felt it was quite windy actually. I thought, oh God, I just really feel like being under my duvet. But I just had a voice saying, you need to go today, because if you don't go today, this is the day you normally go. I just found myself getting up, put my trainers, got out the door. The moment I stepped out the door, the job was done. I just went for my run and then I came back. So it's doing what works for you. If you feel, for example, that going with your spouse would help, encourage them to come along with you. If you've got a friend who lives not too far away, that you feel that, you can actually do exercise together and still social distance. It's possible. So you could still go out together, leave some space between yourself and go for a walk. Sometimes music may help. I use music when I'm running because it motivates me. Nice gospel tracks. If my plan is to run a fast mile or fast half a marathon, I get my fast collection of music, I put it on and I'm gone. If I'm just going for a leisure run, just to clock the miles and just to build up my time, then it's nice, quiet music. And sometimes if I'm going to hit a trail, like where it's nice and peaceful and quiet, a lot of the parks are now peaceful. A lot of people are going for walks. Because I want to enjoy the sound of birds and all that nature, I just pause my music while I'm in there. And when I come out and I'm back on the road, I switch my music on to drown out the sound of cars. So there's practical things that you can do. But I also always recommend get a personal trainer. I mean, Tokumo is a personal trainer. I am a personal trainer. Some of my clients, they know I'm going to ask them, how did it go today? How was your rest day? Did you rest? How did you sleep well? What's your diet like? It's called having an accountability partner. When you have an accountability partner, you're going to have to say something. So if before you were not thinking of running or going for a brisk walk, well, I think I have to go because what am I going to tell them? So it's just doing practical things that would work for you. And if you can't go out for any reason, there's the University of YouTube. Go on YouTube and just type brisk walking or low impact intensive interval training or slow aerobics. You will find, I can guarantee you'll find something. And just follow it for 5 minutes, do what you can, and that's it, your job's done. So it's just not overcomplicating, but making it simple. And like I always say, what makes me quite unique to other personal trainers is my focus is on God being a source of your motivation. Pray about it. Father, I'm struggling with this thing. I want to be able to motivate me. enable me, strengthen me, help me to be able to do this, because I want to look after my body, which is given to me as your temple. You will be amazed at how easy you will get help from the Holy Spirit. You'll just find yourself doing it. I've had so many times when I'm running out there on my own, and I really just feel like stopping, and I just say, Holy Spirit, help me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the energy just comes from nowhere. In fact, there's a day, this is a very funny incident that happened. There's a day that I went running. I think I ran 20 miles that day. I went for a run. When I was halfway, I was tired. I just felt like stopping, and I prayed. I said, Holy Spirit, help me, Lord, strengthen me and enable me. God just gave me this energy. I don't even know where, well, I can't say I don't know where it came, because I know it came from God. And I was able to run the full 20 miles. When I got to the door and I pressed the bell and my daughter came to open the door, I was dancing. I was just dancing. And she was like, and I said, I've just done 20 miles and I was dancing. And she was just laughing at, Daddy, what are you doing? You just went 20 miles and you're dancing. I'm like, yeah, because I'm happy that I was able to crack this, even though I know what I went through, because God enabled me. So if you're struggling in any of these things, if you feel it's so complex, there's so much going on, I can't seem to find it, pray about it. God will make a way for you where there seems to be no way. And before you know it, you'll be on your way, living a healthy lifestyle.
Wow. Thanks so much. So much has been shared. And I think we'll begin to wrap it up now. I don't know if any of our guests here, participants here, they have any questions for our guests, but you can put it in the chat box. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can also post your question as well. And I think one thing is clear from our discussion today. Hypertension is not an excuse for not embarking on, any form of exercise program that you feel will work for you, provided you do your health assessment and you get your clearance from your doctor. That is very, very, very crucial. I remember several years ago, I had an experience while I was teaching a class, and I remember as instructors, it is compulsory at the beginning of each class to always ask your participant, is there anybody here that has an health issue that I need to know, so that you can be on the lookout for them? And I remember I was teaching a high intensity step class, and a lady that was asthmatic came to the class and did not let me know and didn't inform me she was asthmatic. And during the course of the class, she started, she became breathless. And I just noticed that she walked out of the class. And then there was pandemic, people were running around outside the studio, and I didn't know what was going on, not knowing that she was just about at the point of giving up. And she forgot her inhaler at home. She didn't come to the gym with her inhaler, and asthmatic, attending a step class that she should not even have tried in the first place. And thank God for the first aid person that was on ground, and they were able to calm her down. And it was a tough one for everybody that day, but I learned a lesson that exercise is good. There's no one that cannot exercise, but it can also be dangerous if you are not properly guided. So if you have hypertension and you have never exercised before, seek the help, get clearance from your doctor that it is okay for you to start an exercise program, and also get the help of a certified fitness professional. That is very, very important, so that they can guide you and give you proper exercise recommendation that will be tailored towards your own need. But hypertension should not be an hindrance for us not to be able to exercise. And lastly, we cannot finish this by not mentioning the role of healthy eating in managing hypertension. Your diet is also very crucial, and Dr. Ajigini spoke at length about that last week. So if you have not watched that, I will advise that you go onto my YouTube page, Healthy Living and You, or you can check it on Facebook page, and the teaching that we had with Dr. Ajigini last week you can watch it there. So I hope everyone, we have learned one thing or the other about exercise and hypertension. You can still exercise, but just ensure that you are properly guided. And when you go for any form of exercise program, whether you go for a walk or whether you join other people to attend the gym or to attend a structured fitness class, there are vital signs you should always look out for. Listen to your body. Our body always communicates. When you are feeling dizzy, you are feeling breathless, you are feeling as if you want to pass out, your body is telling you, you are asking me to do too much. You are pushing it. Just bring it down. Always listen to your body. And as you improve on your fitness capacity, you'll be able to handle more. So thank you so much, Mr. Bayo, for coming on this program and sharing from your wealth of experience. I don't know whether you have any closing comment that you want to share with us before we end the program today.
Yes, I just like to say that, remember, they say pay now or pay later. One way or the other, you pay. That's one very common phrase my pastor always says. You don't want to have to pay later. Exercise can be an inconvenience, but you have to do it, because if you do not maintain your body, it will break down. Like a car breaks down, if you don't service it regularly, one day if you just stop walking, that's the same thing applies to our body. Let us not abuse our body and hide under prayer and say we're praying, or because I'm a man of prayer or a woman of prayer, I don't have time for exercise. And then you laugh when people talk about exercise. You are only, to be honest with you, if you have that kind of mindset, it shows how unspiritual you are, because at the end of the day, there's two scriptures. One, bodily exercise profited little, but that little, you need that little. That's one. Two, your body is the temple of God. You owe God to look after your body. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, as the Bible says, faith without works is dead. So it's no point me quoting scripture and saying, by the stripes of Jesus Christ I'm healed, if I'm not doing anything to make sure I maintain my health, then my faith is dead. All my prayers are dead because I'm not doing anything. I am not playing my part to look after God's temple. And guess what? We are all going to account to God for what we have done with our bodies. If I abuse my body by eating all the rubbish that there is, I'm not eating healthy. I'm not saying you shouldn't have your treats, but when your treat becomes your main meal and your healthy eating becomes your treat, then there's a problem. So eating healthy and doing any form of exercise, so that when you eventually get to heaven and God says to you, what did you do with what I gave you? You'll be able to say confidently to God, Lord, I did my best and I trusted you. And then another thing I also want to say is, remember, we are children of the King. God loves you. It is God that called your body his temple. Pray about it. Ask God to enable you, to motivate you, to strengthen you. Trust me, I am talking from my experience that there are no limits when you bring God into exercise. You will surprise yourself at the type of things you are able to achieve if you can just bring God into your exercise, like you bring God into when you have financial problems, when you have marital problems, when you have other issues, you pray about it. Why not just pray about exercise? I said, Lord, help me. I want to be able to cycle. I want to be able to skip. I want to be able to brisk walk. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to look after my body. Help me, Lord. Holy Spirit, teach me how to do it and enable me, motivate me. God will answer that prayer. I can guarantee you. So please don't be discouraged. I want to encourage you to do not abandon this part of your life, because it is deeply spiritual and very important. And we will all account to God at the end of the day what we've done with our bodies. That's my last word.
Thank you so much. We cannot overemphasize what he has just said. Every individual on earth is here on an assignment.
Yes.
There is something about your life that is an answer to the earth here. There is a question here that your life will provide the answer for. And if your body is not working well, if you are
Yes.
not functioning well, if you are sick, you will not be able to fulfill your purpose on earth.
Yeah.
So when we talk about healthy living, it's not just about meeting societal standard
Yes.
about what clothes size
Yes.
or what image of fitness should be. It is about us positioning our body in a
Yes.
way that it will allow us to fulfill our God ordained purpose here. I
Absolutely.
can tell you from experience that if you take ill health in any form, mentally, physically, psychologically, in any form, it will incapacitate your ability to be fruitful and to
Yes.
be effective. So
Absolutely.
when we are asking, when we are saying, focus on your health, it is for a greater call.
Yes.
It's not for a call of your size. It's
Yeah.
not for a call of you looking good. It's
Yes.
not for a call of somebody accepting you or somebody liking you. It's for a call that you are here on earth on an assignment and you need to take care of the instrument your maker has given you to
Yeah.
enable you to fulfill that assignment. And that is
Absolutely.
what this program is all about. So
Yes.
if peradventure over the years, whether through neglect, through life circumstances, through unhealthy lifestyle, you are now struggling with hypertension and you have been put on medication. We have also come to let you know that that should not hinder you in being able to fulfill your purpose. So we
Yes.
are here. Our life has meaning, but you will agree with me. If you are struggling with your health, you cannot achieve much. So that is the call. And as he has said, I've been a fitness instructor for over 20 something years now, and I cannot rule out the God factor, honestly speaking. Sometimes, even in teaching, I bring the God factor in because
Yeah.
you meet people that have different kind of health issues, they have different kind of emotional issues, and they bring it to the health class and you want to position yourself where you can be a source of hope for them.
Yes.
So we're just calling out to everyone out there. You are very valuable. You are important to your maker, and he
Yes.
wants you to be well. But
Yes.
you have a role to play, and we are come here making a shout out to everybody. Do your part, and let God come in and help you in the area of your weakness. In conclusion, for those that joined us late, I started this program out by making an appeal on behalf of a man called Mr. Let me just call out his name. For those that joined the program late, Mr. Just bear with me, please. Mr. Joshua, just a moment. I'll just like to quickly read it. Mr. Joshua Wahiri. Mr. Joshua Wahiri, at the moment, is having kidney problem caused by hypertension that was not diagnosed early. And now is being placed on dialysis. I've posted the link on my Facebook, Healthy Living and You Facebook, on my own personal Facebook attached to this program, and also on the YouTube. And I'm using this opportunity to ask everybody, wherever you might be, nations of the world, let us rally around and support this man. It could happen to anyone. Hypertension is a silent killer. And by the time he discovered that the symptoms he had been experiencing was something to tell him that he had issues greater than weakness, it was already late. The hypertension has already affected his kidney and now he's struggling. And there's a GoFund page that has been opened for him. Please and please, let's help him. No amount is too small. Thank you so much for joining us. If you know people out there that this program will benefit, kindly share the link with them. Let's spread the word around. We matter to God. We are here on an assignment, but we need to commit to looking after ourselves to be able to fulfill our God purpose on here on earth. Thank you so much for joining us. For those that are joining us on Zoom, I can see my family people here. Mr. Tunde, Mrs. Ojo, Shewa, thank you. And those that have logged out, thank you so much for joining us. And for those that joined us on YouTube and also Facebook, thank you so much for the encouragement and for the support. So we'd like to sign out now. And I'd like to say a big thank you so much to my dear friend, my long-standing friend, Mr. Bayo Mabo. We've been talking about this program since last year. And we've been pushing it. And finally, it has come to reality. Thank you so much for being a sort of inspiration. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for everyone that has joined us. Bye